Now the elders had set out and brought a fee for divination with them. A little bit of further background on Balaam. When I first read this story, I thought it was very odd that he called Yahweh his God, because he actually calls him that down in verse 18. But he didn't seem to really truly be worshiping Yahweh or love him. He had some respect that Yahweh had more power than he did, but there was no real love there, and it wasn't true worship. So he was a professional, a spiritual prostitute of sorts, curses and blessings for hire, for money, and he was hoping to find a way to get his money in this story. And he did his research, and he would find out who the local gods were of the people he was trying to curse, and try to get the local gods to curse the people who worship them and serve them. And he would go through rituals to try to woo the gods into doing this. And so this is what he's attempting with Israel. He's found the name of Israel's God. He's done a little research on sacrifices. And he actually is spoken to by God. God said to Balaam in verse 12, "You are not to go with them. You are not to curse this people, for they are blessed." So Balaam tells the Moabite ambassadors that he can't do anything besides what God has said. But there's some negotiation going on, and the Moabite king, Balak, still tries to court Balaam with offers of riches and honors. And Balaam keeps trying to sway God. Please go down to verse 20. God came to Balaam during the night and said to him, "Have not these men come to summon you? Get up, go with them, but you must do nothing except what I tell you." In the morning Balaam rose and saddled his she-donkey and set out with the chiefs of Moab. His going kindled the wrath of Yahweh, and the angel of Yahweh took his stand on the road to bar his way. He was riding his donkey, and his 2 servants were with him. Now the donkey saw the angel of Yahweh standing on the road, a drawn sword in his hand, and she turned off the road and made off across country. But Balaam beat her to turn her back onto the road. So here's this great seer who practices in the supernatural, and his donkey sees more than he sees. The donkey sees the angel and is trying to save him. And we see something about his character. He beats her for it. We continue at verse 24. The angel of Yahweh then took his stand on a narrow path among the vineyards, with a wall to the right and a wall to the left. The donkey saw the angel of Yahweh and brushed against the wall, grazing Balaam's foot. Balaam beat her again. The angel of Yahweh moved and took up his stand in a place so narrow that there was no room to pass, right or left. When the donkey saw the angel of Yahweh, she lay down under Balaam. Balaam flew into a rage and beat her with his stick. So 3 times over he's been blind and is really mean to this donkey. Then Yahweh opened the mouth of the donkey. He gets a rebuke from a donkey, who said to Balaam, "What have I done to you? Why beat me 3 times like this?" Balaam answered the donkey, "Because you are playing the fool with me. If I had had a sword in my hand, I would have killed you by now." The donkey said to Balaam, "Am I not your donkey, and have I not been your mount from your youth? In all this time have I ever failed to serve you?" He answered, "No." Now, if a donkey spoke to you, would you yell at it and tell it how you wanted to kill it if you'd had a sword? Or would you be in awe and amazement that this animal was speaking? But he was very frustrated. Then Yahweh opened the eyes of Balaam, and he saw the angel of the Lord, the angel of Yahweh, standing on the road, a drawn sword in his hand, and he bowed down and fell prostrate on his face. Remember, the donkey bowed down first. Now Balaam's bowing down. And the angel of Yahweh said to him, "Why did you beat your donkey 3 times like that? I myself had come to bar your way. While I am here, your road is blocked. The donkey saw me and turned aside from me 3 times. You are lucky she did turn aside, or I should have killed you by now, though I would have spared her." Throwing his own language back at him. He would have killed the donkey, but the angel would have killed him and spared the donkey. So down at verse 35, the angel of Yahweh answered Balaam, "Go with these men, but only say what I tell you to say." So Balaam went with the chief sent by Balak. Now we've seen that God's opened the mouth of a donkey so he can use anyone to speak. Even a sorcerer named Balaam. Balaam does meet with Balak, and they go through great rituals to try to convince God to curse Israel. They build 7 altars at the high places of 3 different mountains. These are places where false gods were worshipped. One of the mountains was Mount Peor, where Baal Peor was worshipped. And they sacrifice 2 animals on each altar. And they go through great, great rituals. But where are their hearts, and what is their intent? Their intent is not to do God's will. It's to curse the people that God has said are blessed. Now, interestingly, God gives Balaam something to say. And in the first oracle, this is chapter 23, verse 8. Balaam says, "How shall I curse one when God does not curse? How shall I denounce when God does not denounce?" And in the second oracle, verse 20, Balaam says, the charge laid on me is to bless. I shall bless and not take it back. I have seen no evil in Jacob. I marked no suffering in Israel. Yahweh his God is with him. In him sounds the royal acclaim. Now Balaam still doesn't get it. Because they go through all these sacrifices a 3rd time. And Balak, before this 3rd time, said to Balaam, this is at verse 25, "Very well, do not curse them, but at least do not bless them." And we get to chapter 24, after they've performed this 3rd great sacrifice. And Balaam finally, for a moment, gets it. Balaam then saw that it pleased Yahweh to bless Israel. He did not go as before to seek omens, but turned toward the wilderness. Raising his eyes, Balaam saw Israel encamped by tribes. The Spirit of God came on him, and he declaimed his poem. He said, we'll start at verse 5, "How fair are your tents, O Jacob! How fair your dwellings, Israel! Like valleys that stretch afar, like gardens by the banks of a river, like aloes planted by Yahweh, like cedars beside the waters. A hero arises from their stock. He reigns over countless peoples." God does give Balaam some more oracles about the defeat of other nations. And in one of the oracles, there is a prophecy about the Messiah. And when we leave this chapter, it seems like there's a possibility that Balaam may have been transformed by this experience, that he may have decided to love God and serve God.